You're now tuned in to By the Dipshits exclusive content. This is part 3 of a 3-part interview with O.D.B last manager Jarred Weisfeld. Before we jump into the interview, By the Dipshits want to give a special thanks to our sponsors. What is Galaxy Wells? Galaxy is a metaphor which represents infinite space. Their goal is to dominate the infinite space in the digital publishing universe. Wells are the major corporation that possess endless amounts of content. What do? They turn content into currency in the digital space, the home of the NFTs. You want to keep your ownership and intellectual property? Then stop what you're doing and go to galaxywells.com. Now I'm back to By the Dipshits.
And
what was your response? Like, I know you said you were shocked, but what was running through your mind at that moment when you got that call? Was it something that you felt that was destined because of the energy, or was just overwhelming?
You know, I was shocked, right? It's like it completely shocked me. It threw me for a loop because I thought he was at home. I didn't know that he was in a recording studio because he wasn't supposed to be at a recording studio. You know, he went to RZA's recording studio. He had missed a show the night before, like a Wu-Tang show at Continental Airlines Arena. He had missed it due to like flight complications, but he had broken his leg. He had done something to his leg. We thought it was broken in Colorado while performing. And I don't know, he came home, right? He what's it called? He went home. Apparently he went to, RZA's studio. And yeah, like I had no idea, his bodyguard was off that day. It's just anything bad that could have happened that day happened. And part of me is like like I can't believe this happened. And then part of me was like, he finally isn't going to be bothered anymore. He's finally like going to be free. Because you have a guy that's like, he felt as though like everybody wanted something from him, right? And and he obviously wanted to retire. That was evident that he didn't want to do what he was doing anymore. And I was just kind of like, I was devastated. But I was like, part of me was just like, this is because he kept saying, he's like, I'm going to die. I'm dying. I'm going to die. And I was just like, what are you talking about? He's like, I'm telling you, I'm going to die. I was like, man, Stop talking like that. And then he died, and I was shocked. But like I said, at the same time, I feel as though like he's in a better place because, there wasn't that much pressure on him. Right. Like everybody had pressure on him. Me and his mom and Frank and Sean and Buddha, like we're the only ones, and Peter and we're the only one, and Mark and a few others, like the only ones that like K Blunt, who recently passed away. We're the only ones that like had his back. One of the only ones that had his back. There were other people obviously as well. And he just couldn't take, he just couldn't take it anymore. And I'm not saying like the Wu-Tang Clan and his cousins didn't have his back. I'm talking about like his immediate inner circle, right? Like the ones that were with him on a daily basis. I'm not including them in this at all. Saying that they were responsible at all, because I don't think they were. I think the person that was responsible obviously was him, right? He made that choice. It was a very, very bad choice, but at the same time, is like he did everything he possibly could to try and get sober. I mean, everything he possibly could. He went to rehab. He did everything. He just kept thinking that he couldn't be Old Dirty Bastard without drugs. That's ultimately, what killed him. But I was devastated, man. Like I was shocked. I remember my first phone call was, obviously his mom had called me and told me. And my first phone call was to Peter Frankel, the lawyer, right? I don't know why he was the first person I called, but he's the first person I called. And he was I'll never forget it, he was at a boxing, he was at a boxing match. And I think Vegas or something. And I was like, yo, man, Dirty died. And he was like, what? I was like, yeah.
So he didn't even know?
No, I mean, he found out that I found out from Cherry, right? So I had up to the second information.
Right.
And then I called him to tell him probably like a minute later. And that was my first phone call. It wasn't like to anybody else. It wasn't like, my first instinct was to call him.
Right.
And that's what I did. I don't know why it was my first instinct, because deep down I knew that nobody cared about him like he did, like Peter did. Right. So first thing that hit me was like, I'm going to call Peter. And then I probably called Sean, and then, or Buddha, then Sean. Right. But that day, I'll never forget that day where I knew exactly where I was. I was putting the code in to I was on the last time I spoke to him, I was on the golf course in Florida. And I said, holy shit, there's an iguana chasing me. Right. And he was like, yo, man, get out of there. I'll talk to you later. Peace.
That was the last you heard from him?
The last time I spoke to him. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. He was like, go enjoy your time with your family. And that, and yeah, but I was in, and then, I'm going to be honest with you, at his funeral, I'm comfortable saying this to you guys, because I don't feel as though it was like I just told you, I don't feel as though it was my fault that he passed away. And I don't feel like it was anybody else's fault that he passed away. Right.
Right.
But the crazy thing is I'm at the funeral, and RZA looks at me and goes, man, how'd you let this happen? Right. And
wow.
I was like, let what happen? He's like, man, how'd you let all this happen? And I look at him, right, and I say, RZA, he died in your studio.
By the Dipshits want to thank our sponsors.
Sienna Sauce is the great tasting, health-conscious everything sauce, offering 4 flavors: sweet and tangy, lemon pepper, spice it up, and the new flavor, smoky brown. Can be used on meat, seafood, poultry, and vegetables. No high fructose corn syrup, and gluten-free. Order your Sienna Sauce today at siennasauce.com, and remember to live, love, and sauce it up.
Now I'm back to By the Dipshits.
RZA looks at me and goes, man, how'd you let this happen? Right. And
wow.
I was like, let what happen? He's like, man, how'd you let all this happen? And I look at him, right, and I say, RZA, he died in your studio. Right. And he kind of flipped the conversation a little bit, he got away from that part. But it's the truth. It's I didn't do anything. RZA didn't do anything. Right. Nobody did anything. It's an unfortunate event. If I could do it all over again, would I do anything different? The answer is honestly no, I wouldn't. There's nothing I could have done. Right. There's nothing I could have done. So when everybody's like, oh, this kid's to blame, it's yeah, no, I did everything I possibly could. That rehab story I told you today, nobody's ever heard that story before. He went there for 28 days. I mean, we did everything we possibly could for him, his mother and I. His parole officer, his mom got married. They went on a honeymoon, right? I had custody of him for 2 weeks. A 23-year-old kid, I was responsible for him for 2 weeks. If anything happened to him, I was responsible for him. And man, did he make those 2 weeks crazy.
By the Dipshits, premium content, streaming everywhere.